Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora, and from me. I hate to tell you, but I'm going to have some fun today. I hope you will enjoy it too, but I'm definitely going to have some fun because this situation is so, receptive to fun that I've got to enjoy it. But before plunging in with any of the really fun stuff, I need to say that I am very encouraged with the announcement that has been made on behalf of the Qataris, the Saudi Arabians, and the Egyptians, calling for Hamas to step aside so that progress can be made for a two-state solution in the Middle East. Of course, this is in the face of the tremendous suffering and the tremendous starvation that is taking place in Gaza, which is truly appalling. And I know that each side is blaming the other, but it's not acceptable under any circumstances, and no amount of blame shifting can alter the fact that it is a total disgrace and it's happening right in front of our eyes and shouldn't be happening at all and should be brought to a speedy halt. And I am delighted that even President Trump is calling for an end to the suffering of the people of Gaza. Well, also, before anything else, I need to thank Robert Brown for those magnificent flowers. And they are so fabulous that I am actually going to, at the end of this, show a photograph of them because it's a huge arrangement and they are just spectacular and they deserve a photograph of their own. So, having said that, I will now plunge in with what Jennifer has to say. Harry's recent behaviour on the Angolan trip clashing with the Queen's birthday, the 3-day visit with friends in Botswana, the endless Charlotte Griffiths dropping the Sussex's PR team's views in the Mail on Sunday. Now, the ludicrous suggestion Harry's dowry is equal to the royal family's, so they should share dates and there'll be no upstaging by Harry of the royal family events. The latter rarely indicates to me that Harry is so addicted to substances. Ayahuasca, ayahuasca, ayahuasca. Doria, you and I love the weedy. Harry is so addicted to substances, he is completely delusional, and it is futile to think he can be reunited with his father until he is both clean and sober, if ever that happens. Well, this, my dear, is a rich feast, and I have to tell you, I'm not on a diet. I'm going to enjoy the nibbles. So, let's not even address the issue of Charlotte, what's her name again? Charlotte Scabies? Scabies Griffith. Yes. Some people are just shameless. Well, but It's getting the message across. Unfortunately for Harry and Meghan and Meredith Means and Charlotte Griffith, it's not getting the message that they want us to be getting across. It's getting the message that they hoped we wouldn't get while being duped. And that's the message we're getting, which is, no, what was her name again? Josefa Goebbels Griffiths? Oh, amidst Cabie's Charlotte Griffiths? Grifting? Whatever. Harry is definitely delusional. He's always had tendencies to delusions. We need to cut him some slack with the possibility, as I have said before, that he might have been born, shall we say, handicapped. Certainly, he's no brain box, on the contrary. It doesn't help that he doesn't have a mind to be in with, and that he's out of the mind he doesn't have. But the impertinence, the arrogance, is truly beyond belief. Because really, what did that dowry offer constitute? Oh, it was meant to give the message that, oh, I want to be wonderful. I don't want to upstage Pa or Big Willie. But I need you to know how important I am. So I will make the offer, as if Harry and Meghan's engagements are now going to set the agenda for the royal family. Do you see the catch? Do you see where all of a sudden what seems to be a pleasant offer is actually a trap? Well, let's wonder who came up with that trap. Let's wonder who comes up with traps left, right, and centre. Because Harry doesn't have the brains, and Meghan has the ability. Not enough brains to have figured out that being too clever by half is stupid by whole, but enough brains to think, well, I'm so clever, I can outsmart everybody. And anybody who gets to see what I'm about, sorry, I forgot, the hands have to flash. After all, she is a member of, well, isn't she the woman from La Mancha? Windmills everywhere. You notice she's gone quiet on Instagram for about a month now. There was a whole load of postings when she was pushing the narrative that I'm a great success, was never, is going to be an even bigger success than as ever could ever possibly have been, and it will never be, but I'm going to pretend. And remember, I'm in partnership with Netflix. I mean, Netflix and I are partnering, yes. And I'm really lucky that I am in the position to endow Netflix with my presence, because isn't Netflix lucky to have me as a partner? Well, she's gone quiet. Why has she gone quiet? I'll get to that in a little while. But because you'd have to have a heart of stone to not actually feel for Megsy baby in her suffering. Megsy baby's just curled up in a ball. Oh, well, I shouldn't jump the gun. So one of the other things that has been posted recently is that Harry is suing me and Tom Bower. I tell you now, that would be fun if he tried it. Oh, I would just love to have a meal with Sherborne and Sussex. Oh, I tell you, cows don't have as much cud as I would as I was chewing that cud. Mm. But anyway, Harry, I said it before and I'm saying it again. Harry and Meghan's marriage is in big trouble. Yes, she reeled him back in when she needed him performing like a performing seal, and yes, he obliged. And yes, there was a pretense that everything was okay. And I'm sure she put on that Stan Getz record for Harry so that he would be convinced that the greatest pleasures in life are when you're blowing in the wind. Well, unless, of course, you're roasting chicken. But Harry, I understand, has had enough. Well, Harry had enough. And Harry loses his patience from time to time with Meghan. Remember some time ago I told you that he said he'd regretted ever having married her and that things were really bad between them, and then she reeled him back in? Well, as I've said before, and I say it again, when hunger comes in through the door, love goes out the window. And although I would not say that their marriage is definitively over at this point, Harry made it absolutely clear he's had enough. And what did Harry do? He took himself on a spiritual cleanse. He went and stayed with friends in Botswana. And Megsy baby couldn't reach him. Can you imagine the cruelty of it all? And I'm told Megsy baby has had a total collapse. 10 tears left eye and a few on the right as well. She curled up in a ball. You'd have to have a heart of stone and not to be moved by the performance. I mean, she made Euripides look as if he didn't understand what drama was all about. Curled up in a ball. Look at all I've sacrificed for you and your family. And look at the way you've repaid me. I gave up my career for you. What career? What career? Everybody says you were written out. You don't believe all of those lies, do you? Those racists there. You surely can't believe that. I was going to be the biggest star of all time. Come on, Meg. Do you think I'm a fool? I know you're a fool. Sorry. I didn't mean that. Of course I know you're a genius, H. I love you. And I've given up the whole world for you. I gave up my career. I gave up everything. Oh, what a cruel world it is when even you, my great protector, for whom? Because not for whom, sorry. Let's not be Lady C about it all. Let's be Megsy baby about it all. For who? I gave up everything for who? Everything. What a cruel world it is. And all I've ever wanted to do is give us a good life. And I mean, because you're such a failure, sorry, I didn't really mean that. You're not a failure, you're a great success. I mean, look how much you've loved me, and I know you're gonna love me in 20 minutes from now. No, I'm not, Meg, I'm not. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of all of the trouble you're causing me. You ruined my life. No, I haven't. I'm the one who made you see that you were trapped. I wasn't trapped, Meg. I wasn't trapped. I'm now trapped. No, you're not trapped, H. No, you're not. Look at how much I've loved you. Look at all I've given up for you. Oh, H, come on. You've gotta understand that you can't join my enemies. Look at how hard I've worked. Look at how much trouble I've gone to give you the life you deserve, to give you the platform you deserve. I mean, can you imagine if you were with all those ghastly white people? I'm just sorry if you were with your family in England. Sorry, I didn't mean that, H. I didn't mean it. No, because you know I love white people. I mean, my dad's white, daddy's white, and I used to be white until I discovered the joys of being brown and black. but let's not go there, because this race topic is just such a difficult one for us to navigate around, and everybody giving me a hard time. All I've been doing is sticking up for myself and people of colour all over the world. No, Meg, no, you're not. I mean, don't think people haven't complained to me as well, because I've heard that lots of people of colour all over the world are complaining about what harm and damage you've done to race relations. No, it's them. You've got to know I love you, H. I've never loved anybody more than you. Look at all I've given up for you. I mean, I even gained weight for you. Remember that? I mean, what greater proof of love can a girl, I mouth nearly slipped, sorry. I nearly said something else. A girl like me, what greater proof can she give a man than that she gains weight for him, especially to silence all those mean stories about deliveries? I mean, you know, H, that none of this is my fault. None of it. No. Well, evidently things are pretty dire. My heart bleeds for them. Actually, you have to have a heart of stone to remain totally unmoved. And sadly, I do not have a heart of stone. So the bit of her that is still human, now what percentage would that be? 0.025? 0.050? 0.00001? Well, whatever. One has to have sympathy for that element of the being. But the rest of it, if ever anybody deserved the reckoning that they are enduring at the moment. And also, she is moving heaven and earth to try to cobble a deal together that is going to save her face. Problem is, can you imagine my friend, now what's his name, that guy at Paramount, you remember? We went to Jamaica and saw that movie, and they put us in with all those peasants in that ghastly theatre, instead of us being with Rita Marley. But Rita Marley, they say, doesn't like me. Rita Marley doesn't like women of colour who pass for white. And I've never passed for white. I've never passed for anything except authentic and sincere, which I am. I am. Don't take my word for it. Ask anybody who's not racially prejudiced and they'll tell you I'm authentic and sincere. Just don't ask my father and my brother and my sister. They're gonna lie. Yes, they are. Well, Harry should have a little bit of sympathy now for the fact that what he has been enduring with Meghan, his father endured with his mother when she wanted to pull stunts. Charles loathed scenes. Harry doesn't loathe scenes, incidentally. But Charles loathed scenes. But Harry has found himself caught up in a game whose intensity and outcome he had no idea he would be getting involved with. And he evidently doesn't like it one jot. Well, now where's the surprise there? Harry says that he, and has always maintained, he doesn't like the media. He doesn't want a media life. But they're starring in their own Truman Show. Because I've got to be a billionaire. Just imagine, until you found me, if you flew commercial. I mean, okay, come on. You've got to admit, nobody with class flies commercial. I mean, come on. Look at how I've elevated you. No, I was happy flying commercial. I would prefer to fly Ryanair or EasyJet than have to put up with any more of this nonsense. But H, you love me so much. No, I don't love you now. But you do. Well, you want me to show you how much I love you, H? Come on, let me show you, H. Let me show you. I'll show you how much I love you. It's not going to work, Meg. It's not going to work. When it really stops working is when we know H has a chance. The problem with their situation is she boasted to the world that everything was her idea and that she was the one who was involved with all of it. I'm the curator, I'm the orchestrator, I'm the director, I'm the producer, I'm the star, I'm everything. And it's all gone belly up. Well, she's struggling because she can't go to Paramount because her friend at Paramount has been edged out. And don't be surprised, though, if she doesn't move heaven and earth and end up doing something with Netflix for $20,000 or $50,000. How that is going to do anything but preserve her image is beyond me. So, Donna Relaxing says, Lady C, CNN said Trump confirmed on Air Force One to a reporter as he elaborated on his and Epstein's falling out that it was Epstein poaching employees from Mar-a-Lago that caused the falling out. Trump said, yes, young women were taken out of our spa and had by Epstein. The CNN reporter, Kate Baldwin, just stated that the woman Epstein took from the employment from Trump's spa was Virginia Giuffre, as you have always stated. Virginia went willingly. I guess Virginia didn't want the minimum wage she was being paid to actually work 8 hours a day in an honest job. Well, it has to be said, most people would be tempted to flick their wrist for 15 minutes for $300 rather than work for 8 hours fetching and carrying towels at Mar-a-Lago or anywhere else. They would be tempted. Would they actually do it? That's another matter altogether. There are other stories as to why Trump and Epstein fell out. The fact of the matter is they fell out. Who did not fall out with Epstein was Bill Clinton with his wife Hillary. They did not fall out with Epstein. This is a saga that is going to play and play and play. Where will it end? Who knows? I would recommend that everybody keep their head firmly screwed on as the lies whiz around them. Because if you look at the lies, you're going to get Google-eyed and you're going to end up not knowing what to believe. In much the same way that Harry doesn't know what to believe. Because Meghan has done such a job on him. She has convinced him that people who loved him genuinely were taking advantage of him. She convinced him that the way to go forward was to take on the family and beat them up, as well as beating them at what she thought was their game. He is evidently totally befuddled. On the one hand, at times he sees exactly what his predicament is, and on the other hand, at other times, he doesn't. Now, this is actually quite standard in narcissistic relationships, where the dominant party controls the environment in which the submissive lives. There's nothing unique about it. Harry is much less intelligent than Meghan. She's no great genius. She would like everybody to think she's a genius. And she certainly thinks she's cleverer than she is. But the fact of the matter is she's not that clever, otherwise she'd have been able to get away with the things that she's not been able to get away with. Because like all slugs, she leaves a trail of slime as she slithers from one part of the garden to the other, taking her muck with her. Virginia Giuffre is dead. Let's leave her where she is. She's dead. She made some really bad choices. She made some good choices as well. Let's give her credit for that. She ultimately succumbed to temptation. Temptation that came in the form of Sharon Churcher of the Mail on Sunday. Do you begin to get a sort of feel for how involved the Mail on Sunday is with various forms of untoward news? I make that point for what it's worth. FQA says, President Donald Trump said he was friends with Epstein for quite a while, until they fell out because he poached his staff. He also referred that he hadn't had the privilege to be invited to Epstein's island. So bizarre. I didn't know those photos of them at parties were real. What I don't think people seem to understand is that Epstein was everywhere, mixing with everyone. There's nothing unique about the fact that Donald Trump was friendly with Epstein. Epstein was asked to one of the Queen's parties at Windsor Castle. He was at Balmoral. Give me a break. I mean, why would people not realize that Epstein was everywhere? And as I have tried to point out time and again, Epstein was a bit of a hate figure in my circle because he tried to steal the flat of one of my closest friends who is godmother to one of my children from under her in the 80s. So Epstein was a hate figure in our circle. None of us knew what was going on in the sleazy department. If we'd known, I certainly would have been singing it from the mountaintops. People really struggle to comprehend that there are layers and it's lumping everything together with no discernment doesn't assist anybody. And yes, the worst thing you can do in certain circles, certainly where my mother was concerned, the worst thing you could do was try to poach one of her staff. I mean, she never forgave my father's cousin's wife for trying to steal Owen, our head gardener, from us. Rosie didn't succeed in stealing Owen, and Rosie came back and told Mummy. Of course, he wanted a rise, so that's why he told Mummy. But she had offered, and Mummy never forgave her. People can have affairs with other people's husbands and wives, and that's sort of acceptable. But to steal staff? Absolutely not. Those are the values of this world. People who don't have staff don't understand the values involved and why they are so important. But they are important because staff is like family if it's good staff. And you don't want to have a friend betray you by stealing your staff. It couldn't be simpler. Darlene Chandler says, Prince Andrew had nothing to do with Virginia. Then why did he pay her off millions of dollars? That part I don't understand. If I was not guilty of something, I definitely would not give someone lying about me millions of dollars in a settlement. Still don't understand that part. Well, Darlene Chandler, thanks for that, and I'm going to address it because I have had to address it before, and maybe I'll have to address it again. But first of all, Prince Andrew did not give her millions of dollars. Wait until her estate is probated, and you will see that the millions of dollars that the press said that she got, she didn't get. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you cannot be a public figure if you don't understand the constraints within which public figures function. So you saying, I as a private person wouldn't do X, Y, Z, and therefore since I wouldn't do it, if somebody who is a public figure does it, that means they are guilty. No, it doesn't. It means you're not a public figure. You don't know the constraints involved. You don't have the considerations. You're never going to have them, so you're never going to understand them unless they are explained to you. And if you are open-minded enough to appreciate the constraints, then you will understand them. And then you will factor in to your judgment what you would do, not if you were as you are, but if you were a public figure. I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. Andrew was fully aware of the fact that, as was I, that there was the possibility of, if he went to the United States of America, that he would be ambushed and arrested on trumped-up charges. Up to that point, Judge Kaplan had made it absolutely clear he was prejudiced against Prince Andrew and prejudiced in favor of Virginia Giuffre. No surprise there. David Boys, who orchestrated the whole thing, and I have covered this extensively before, and I'm not covering it again. David Boys was Clinton's lawyer. David Boys orchestrated the whole to preserve the Clintons' reputations. Both, not Bill alone. Also, the Queen was dying. They knew the Queen was dying. All of this coincided with her Jubilee year when she was dying. What son who loves his mother would decide that he is going to fight for his reputation when he and she both know that he was innocent, at the expense of completely overturning the last weeks or months of her life with the most terrible sensation? Prince Andrew arrested, Prince Andrew, photographs of Prince Andrew being processed, Prince Andrew's being fingerprinted. Can you imagine? I mean, just think about it for 2 seconds. He did what any loving son would have done. He fell on his sword. And as I said, wait for it. You will discover when Virginia's Giuffre's will is probated that all those millions that he is supposed to have coughed up, he didn't. I've covered this before. Just because the press says something doesn't mean it's true. Jellyfish Heart says, Dear Lady C, I have a few points for consideration and would appreciate hearing your thoughts on them. The Biden administration didn't take Trump down with reference to incorrect behavior. How do we not know some of their own staff, politicians, were not involved with Epstein, and bringing Trump down would potentially bring them down too? Well, that's the first one, so I'll answer that, then I'll answer the others. Jeffrey Epstein was a Democrat. Bill Clinton, his close friend, was a Democrat. Hillary Clinton, another close friend, was a Democrat. Donald Trump, at the time that he was friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, was a Democrat. Was the Biden administration going to be involved? Would any of their people have been involved? Yes, obviously, but it wasn't only the Democrats who were involved. Republicans were involved as well. I mean, let me answer the next part of the question, because it's so obvious to me that it's perplexing that I actually have to answer it. Ghislaine Maxwell, you mentioned, was also a victim. Can you clarify if your research has revealed that she was a victim of Epstein? I think you previously referred to her as a victim of abuse from her father. Robert Maxwell was an extremely abusive man. He was really a dictator and something of an emotional terrorist. And he abused all his children. He abused his whole family. Yes, Gillian was his favorite, but she was also subject to his diktat. Robert Maxwell set her up to know how to work her way around abusive men, to keep the peace, to go along with them enough that she would not be targeted by them. If you are in love with a man who is decadent and depraved the way he was, obviously it's going to, if you're involved in the relationship, there's going to be an abusive element. It's obvious. I don't know why people don't see that. Maybe because they thought she had money and therefore, having money, she didn't have a heart. I think Virginia Giuffre was also a grooming victim. It's common that grooming victims do groom and end up getting lenience because of that. I think of Stockholm Syndrome here. Thanks as always. Okay, well, Virginia Giuffre lived with somebody who was a predator in his 60s when she was an early teenager, at which time she was already on the game. This was years before she ever met Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell. Was she groomed? She said she was interfered with by somebody close to her family. It nearly broke up her parents' marriage. She ceased living with her parents for a while. The story is very upsetting and very distressing. She ultimately went back to live with her parents, and the marriage was not broken up. But she was on drugs, she was a wild child, and her father himself said, you couldn't believe a word she said, or words to that effect. So she was already a practiced deceiver and a liar. We don't know that what she said initially was true, but whether it was true or not, many perpetrators start out as victims, and ultimately it does not excuse them for their behavior. You may have compassion and some sympathy, but it's not a get out of jail card. And Virginia Giuffre, by her own account, got $15,000 from Jeffrey Epstein for telling him that she had scored with Prince Andrew. $15,000. She got on a plane of her own free will from the United States of America. Her father took her to the airport. Why was he taking her to the airport? Why was he allowing her to fly across the Atlantic Ocean to link up with Jeffrey Epstein? Surely he must have realized that the amount of money she was swimming in did not come from ordinary avenues. Maybe he didn't. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But the fact of the matter is that the young woman who is no longer with us, who gave evidence in the Ghislaine Maxwell trial against Virginia Giuffre, said that she, Virginia Giuffre, found her, groomed her. When she told Virginia that she was 14 years old, She told her she had to lie and say she was over the age of consent. All of that is in the evidence. So none of this is supposition. This was evidence given to the court. Virginia Giuffre was, when she met her husband in Bali, she was on a trip to collect one of the, shall we say, morsels that they were all going to be nibbling on. She was as much, if not more, of a perpetrator than Ghislaine Maxwell. There's very little evidence that is as credible as that girl's evidence to support some of the accusations made against Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm not saying she wasn't decadent. I'm not saying they weren't untoward. I'm saying if we're discussing degree, Virginia Giuffre was definitely far more involved than she wanted anybody to believe. And she's just lucky that she was never charged, because she should have been charged. Alita Jerry says, Lady C, someone is using a headshot of you on a video posted by H.G. Tudor, knowing the narcissist, ultra, this one's wife, fight, Meghan Markle. Thought you should know. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it when I'm informed of things like this. I looked at it. I actually looked at the episode. I think H.G. Tudor has the measure of the situation down perfectly. I don't want to say more than that, except that H.G. Tudor was addressing the rumour that I and Tom Bower are being sued by Harry, and he made it absolutely clear that insofar as he was aware, neither Tom Bower nor I has anything to worry about, because neither of us has done any of the things that legally we could be put in the frame for. I mean, defamation is a pretty hefty matter. And if you know your way around the law, as both Tom Bower and I do, he is not only a journalist and a writer, he is a barrister. I have extensive experience with regard to defamation, having successfully sued every single one of the major newspaper companies in this country. But if Harry wanted to issue proceedings, I would be delighted. And that's not the right word. I would be furious, but I would regard it as my duty to accept service, and I would fight him in the courts. And believe me, he would find that it wasn't going to be that easy for him to withdraw without serious penalties. So, but I suspect Harry's beginning to discover, as a result of the experience of being married to Meghan, what living with a strong, resourceful Leo can be. His experience, of course, is with a negative Leo. He would have the experience of not living with, but benefiting from a positive Leo. And believe me, I'm very positive. Let's leave it at that. Sharon Mack says, Dear Lady Colin, what are your views on the President Trump discussion interview with Keir Starmer? Personally, I'm not a fan of Keir Starmer. That's putting it mildly. I'm not a fan of Keir Starmer either. I think Keir Starmer is dangerous. I think he is very adept at playing the system. He's been doing it his whole life very successfully. I think he is a very much a career politician, and I think he would make an eel look as if it were covered in super glue, because he is so slippery. And compared to an eel, no. However, I thought President Trump made it absolutely clear, as he ought to have, that he regards what's happening in this country as very dubious. He sang Keir Starmer's praises in many ways, and Trump is sufficiently adept at deal making, or regards himself as a great deal maker. Whether he is or not is beside the point. But he understands what you can get with honey, you're not going to get with vinegar. So he lays it on with a trowel, and then he takes his swipes, which is what he did with Keir Starmer, because he praised him to the skies, and then where it was important, he sort of came in for the kill. And he made it absolutely clear that the problems in this country in terms of freedom of speech should be addressed. He made it absolutely clear that the problems with immigration, which of course are American problems as well, should be addressed. And he also made it clear that Lucy Connelly should not be treated with the severity that she has been treated with. And I agree with that as well. I am delighted to read that Lucy Connelly is due to be released on the 21st of August. Of course, they have been as punitive as possible with her, denying her privileges that they would have granted to anybody else. For instance, a visit from her daughter on the daughter's 13th birthday. That's not only punishing Lucy Connelly, that's punishing her 13-year-old daughter. But do they care? No. Well, why would they care? Lucy Connelly's husband is a Tory councillor. So Tories are not allowed to have feelings. Only Labour supporters are allowed to have feelings. Trump has addressed that issue, and I'm pretty glad he did. I think we should all be addressing that issue. I don't care if people are Labour supporters or Tory supporters or Democrat supporters or Republican supporters. What I care is that they apply the rules fairly and equally. Justice is blindfolded for a reason. And Keir Starmer has ripped off the blindfolds of justice. And Keir Starmer is quite rightly called two-tier Keir. He has one set of rules for people who he supports and another for those who don't support him and who are therefore in the frame to be punished. This is the conduct of a dictator. This is the conduct of a totalitarian who has no respect for justice or the rights of human beings. Having said all of that, I have said it before and I'll say it again. Keir Starmer is the equivalent of Alexander Kerensky, who was the caretaker of the head of government in Russia during the provisional government. When he was toppled, Lenin came into power. Keir Starmer is Kerensky. Angela Rayner is Lenin. We want Kerensky. Bad as he is, he's infinitely better than the alternative. I have to say, what's happening in this country is very sad. But it's not only in this country, because Emmanuel Macron in France is using Candace Owens' comments about his wife, not to protect his wife or to clear up any doubts about her origins, which could be done very easily. No, he's doing it. He's using that to try to muzzle anybody who dares to question anything about him or his wife. It's really about him. It's not his wife. It's about him. These are power-crazed mini-dictators who need to understand that the people have rights, and you do not abuse the people's rights if you believe in the rights of the people. If you don't believe in the rights of the people, don't pretend to love the people. You are a hypocrite. You're a liar. You're a fraud. You're a phony. You are really a wolf in sheep's clothing. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. And remember, it can be on anything. Let's expand our horizons. Thank you so much. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take good care. Bye-bye.